guys, it's Patrick from Prepared Patriot. Today I just want to go through a video of how to camouflage your rifle or your shotgun, depending on what your needs may be. So just a couple of things. This is the end product. I'm going to show you the process that we kind of went through to get to this point. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the ending of this, about like things you should consider before you do it and those kind of things. But here's the process. Stay tuned and we'll cut you in to show you what it looked like before and bring you through the process, and then we'll talk at the end. So a lot of you have saw in class that some of the rifles we have are painted or camouflaged, and we've got questions about how we do that. So today I'd like to do a video just to kind of show you guys the process of how I, kind of quick and dirty camouflage a rifle or a shotgun. Here pictured you'll see my father's KSG Kel-Tec shotgun. This is not how I would run this rig, but this is how he has it. Don't need comments about that. Like, this is just an example rifle for you guys to see as we kind of prep it for him for paint. So the things that you're going to need, the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is what you're going to need to do this. So starting from right to left, you're going to need some kind of trash bags or plastic bags to cover your gun and your optics and stuff like that during cleaning. You'll need tape, again, for covering up anything you don't want to paint. I like to use rope and some kind of design to make designs in the paint, just to kind of make it break up a little bit better and look a little bit cooler. Let's be honest, this is partially, looking cool as much as it is, functional. So we like to use Rust-Oleum paint. This is the Rust-Oleum camouflage paint that you can get anywhere. You'll need brake cleaner for cleaning the gun. And then I also use a primer and a couple of other things, different colors. You can use brown, green, tans, whatever colors are best for you and your environment. Typically I go more green, but my father has asked and requested for more of a flat dark earth theme, so more of a little bit more on the tan side. So we're going to do his today and kind of show you how we do this stuff. Stay tuned and you'll get video from here on out on how the kind of process works. Alright guys, so one of the first things I like to do before I paint is just to prep the optics. So you guys can see here, this one has like a red dot sight on it and also a flashlight down here. We're going to take the time just to tape this stuff up and kind of protect it for cleaning, so you guys can see how we do this here in just a second. I'm going to roll through and let you guys see how we kind of take this off, and then I'm going to cover it with a plastic bag. And that's just so I can prep it to clean the whole rifle of any kind of grease with brake cleaner that takes any of the grease and stuff that might be on the stock or the hand grips or anything where we're going to get lots of wear. So this is going to be the first step, is just protecting the optic, and then we'll come back afterwards and clean the optic with some just alcohol and a rag, just to kind of get it, the grease off of it without actually putting anything really, harmful on it. All right, guys. So as you can tell here, I've already taped up underneath this plastic bags and stuff. I went ahead and taped up the optics so that I can paint that whenever we're done. And then I went ahead and covered up the flashlight, because I just don't think this flashlight will hold up very well to brake cleaner. It has little rubber buttons and stuff, and it's not the most high quality flashlight, so I don't think it's going to hold up if we get a bunch of brake cleaner and stuff on it. So it's a little bit easier sometimes whenever you're doing like a if you have the optics we recommend, like the hollow sun and stuff like that, they can a lot of times come with end caps and stuff that you can cover up the optic with, which in my opinion is the only thing those things are good for, is if you plan on painting your gun. So we use those to cover the ends on like a hollow sun optic instead of tape. On this one it was a very odd shape, and I had to tape some different angles on it and stuff and cut it out, so it took a little bit of time off camera to make that right. But this is what it looks like kind of before I get ready to prep it and clean it. So from here I'm just going to glove up and get this thing hanging, and we're going to go ahead and hit it with some brake cleaner and clean off any of the grease and stuff on there before we kind of prime and paint. Alright guys, so here you can see it as it is finished. Mostly dry now from being cleaned. I've went back and I've cleaned the light and the rest of the optic with alcohol just to kind of make it degrease so that when it's ready to paint. Some other things that you might want to do, as you can tell, I've taped off the light. I also taped off the barrel at the end and I always put some patches down in there and stuff to kind of stop it up and keep paint from getting down in the bore. Also taped off the optic so we don't get anything there. And then I like to stuff, in this rifle, I just stuff the action down here full of towels so that we don't have any issues with paint getting into the action. If you were doing a AR-15 type rifle, you know, you might want to tape up the little notch and post sights. You might want to tape up the actual sight part itself, like the notch that sticks up and then that little peep sight. You might want to tape those up. With those, I usually stick some patches and stuff down in the barrel, especially if you have like a flash hider. You can just pack that full of patches just to keep stuff from getting down into the barrel as well. So what we're going to do now is you're just going to see me start laying down some primer and base coats. I'm going to start off just priming it all one color. I'm going to leave the sling on here. Typically, actually, you know what, I believe I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and take that off because it's kind of a pain sometimes to paint it with the sling actually on there. What I'll typically do at the end is I will take the sling and just hang it, and then I'll paint the sling itself after I'm done. And if you want to camo your sling as well, which I probably will this one. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the sling loose and just let it hang so it's not in my way as I'm painting. And then we will put on our first base coat of primer and then start doing the camouflage pattern. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so I'm just starting to lay down the first kind of level of primer here. And if you guys have ever painted anything before, you kind of know it. You want to just kind of hit it with a dusting at first. It doesn't need to be like super heavy. We just want to kind of lay down the first level and let it dry a little bit before we go crazy on the paint and stuff as well. We don't want to get it too heavy, too thick. We just want to put down a little coat to let it get kind of sticky. And then we can come back after it dries just a hair and hit it again. Just keep kind of laying some coats down. We're just going to speed the video up and let you guys see this kind of in time the way I do it. First level I'm going to do here is just going to be some primer. I'm going to let this dry just a hair now that we've kind of put a little bit down. The cool thing about camouflaging a gun is like it really doesn't matter. Like whatever you do is not wrong. You know, you're just kind of playing with it until you get the look that you want. And it's going to have so many kind of coats of paint and stuff on it that it really doesn't matter. You know, if you don't like what you do, just come back and spray it again. Do it until you get it the way you want it. All right, guys, so now we're going to lay down the base coat. I picked a brown to start with, and we're just going to lay down a quick base coat of brown just to kind of add some dark colors to the bottom. As we start to add in some layers of paint here, you will see it do some different things. But the base coat on the bottom is typically going to be the color you see the least. And on this rifle, we're going to end up with like a lighter color on top. This base color is just going to be kind of some accenting as we go here. So we're going to speed this up and let you guys see the video without the sound, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, now we're going to add in another layer here. This is the brown base, and as you can see, I've kind of wrapped it around with some bungee cord, and that's just going to add a little bit of depth to it as we're spraying it. And now I'm just going to give it a coat of green kind of on the area where the cord is. I'm just kind of hitting that area and then maybe around it some I'm just going to add some stripes in. There's not really a rhyme or reason to how you do this. That's the whole point of camouflage, is just trying to create patterns that are a little bit more broken up so that you don't see maybe as much. So you really don't want all the same color anywhere. Like, it should be kind of off and a little bit different. We're just going to add a splash in here, maybe there. Go ahead and give that some green. And I know that my father has said he wants this to be a little bit lighter in color, so I'm going to add in maybe a little bit more green and go ahead and change the color a hair here, just because he wants it a little bit lighter. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. So the brown that we first painted will be probably the least color that you see on the rifle by the end of it. And if it's too green or too brown or too whatever color that you may be painting, it really doesn't matter. You can always kind of come back later on and just change it, just add more of whatever you might want. But right now we're going to let this coat dry, and then we'll come back and add in some of the lighter colors, which will be kind of more of the top coats. And you'll see kind of how I do some of the top coat paint and the end of the kind of design feature where we add in some color and patterns and stuff. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so we gave time for the base coat to dry a little bit. Again, we're going a little bit lighter with this one. So what I'm going to do now is just break up the pattern. This is just a little pattern that I pulled off of like a propane tank that I bought. It was like a protective plastic cover that just has some stuff in it. Anything to kind of break up the pattern and make it where it's not one color is what we're kind of looking for. So what I'm going to do is just lay that real close, and that's kind of the key there. It needs to be kind of hugging the rifle as you do it, and then we're just going to lay down some color. And if you see there, it kind of makes a pattern. Again, we're going to come right here and just we're just breaking up, adding a little bit of different texture here. And there is no real rhyme or reason of how you do this stuff. You just kind of do it where it breaks the pattern up and just makes it kind of look the way you want it to look. And I kind of try to offset everything so where it's not really it's not really any one color per se. It's just kind of multiple colors. Now, I did tell you that my father had said he wants this to be more of a lighter color, so we're going to add more maybe color than I normally would. And as we get closer to the end, I'm going to add in a light highlight that I normally would not. Typically for me, this is kind of what we want to do in our environment. Because we are greener here, I would stay more of a green color. But that being said, he likes the lighter color, so we're going to go with lighter color. So now you can see I put in more of a tan color there. And what I'm going to do next is grab a lighter color, and we're going to add in some lighter highlights in different places that give it just a little bit more of an offshoot of that tan look that he was looking for. And this is just different stuff, different colors. And I'm just trying to break out some of the green so it's more of a tan flavor at the end. And you can do, you can do this however you like. There is no right answer here. It's just, and if you mess up, you don't really mess up. Just come back in and, change it to the way that you want it. Change it to, if you mess up and go too light in a couple spots, that's okay. Just come back in and go with some green. Go with some green and change that up, and that's all there is to it. So I would let this dry just a little bit longer, and that'd be good enough. It's going to have that kind of tan overall theme with some green and some brown on the underneath here. So we'll let this dry just a hair, and I'm going to look over it. I don't see any other spots that I really want to add to. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a little right there to break that up, and maybe a hair right there. And we'll just kind of leave that as it is. So, all right, so I think that's going to be kind of the flavor right there of what my dad's looking for. I think he wants that more tan appearance. Normally I would have left a little bit more green. Like I said, I'd have left it more of a greenish color. So what I'll do is I'll let this dry a little bit, and then we'll come back to the tabletop and show you guys what the kind of finished product looks like after it's completely dried and things are in, you know, the way that we want them to be. All right, guys, so I just realized after getting some of this done that I didn't actually paint the sling itself. So we're going to come back in and add a little color to the sling. All right, guys, so I'm adding in the last and final touches here. So I've already added some of the darker tan. Now I'm just going to come back and hit it with the lighter tans. And again, it would have been better had this been, again, a lighter colored sling, but we're working with what we got. And we're just trying to break up that pattern the best we can. And what I may even do, just because this was such a dark colored sling, I may actually do more of this lighter color and come back in with a green or something on top to really try to break it up, because it is a little darker than I would like. See how it would look with a different color kind of contrasted on there. See if I can do some green and see how that looks. So just sprayed that. Let's give this a little turn. As you're kind of spraying, guys, you might want to turn your stuff. It does start to get wet and drip everywhere. So what I want to do is come back in with some green now. And this is why I say if it was a lighter color, you could just add in your darker colors to break it up, and it would be a lot easier. Yeah, so that looks pretty good like that. I think I'm going to leave it just like that and let it dry and see how it kind of looks as we finish up there. But that just kind of, from a distance, I know it's hard for you guys to tell, but like I said, I will give you a close-up of this back on the shotgun here toward the end, and you guys can see what it looks like as a finished product. Also, as a bonus tip, if ever you are trying to paint multiple magazines, I find it best to just use a box and kind of stick them in where it's kind of the same depth of where you're going to be shooting, where it's going to be when it's shooting, and then you can go ahead and camouflage them on the box and do multiples at a time. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video on how to camouflage your rifle. Now, as I kind of talked about throughout the video, there is no rhyme or reason to this. You can use whatever colors you want, whatever paint you want. It really doesn't matter, and you can get a pretty cool end product kind of on your own here. Just, you know, the things that you should consider and think about that I think that, you know, are important before you actually go and do this on your own. It will decrease the value of your rifle. It makes it cooler to me, and I enjoy it whenever I do this kind of thing to one of our guns. And I think it's cool. I think it's cool looking. It makes it unique. It makes it kind of how you want it to look. It will decrease the value of your rifle, though, so if you're ever planning on selling it, you probably shouldn't do that. If you are worried about resale value, or if you ever think you might want it to come back to black, like that's a it's a process to do it, and I would not. So if you have hesitations for those reasons, then I would recommend you not do it. Some other things that you might already consider, this is, you know, a rattle can job. You know, this is, you know, doing it with paint that is maybe not as tough as like a Duracoat or some of those other products that are out on the market that you can do and it looks and will stay that way longer. However, if you're like me, to me, wear on a gun just shows that you're using it. It just shows that it's getting its due diligence. It's getting its time out in the range and being used and abused, so to speak. So I like that battle worn look. I like the way it looks whenever it's been used. And over time, you might have to touch this thing up. You know, you might have to come in and touch up spots that flake off, and you're going to get high risk areas like the grip and where the action runs and stuff. You're going to see over time that the action will, you know, start to scrape away and do some things there. It is what it is. If you don't like that, then you probably shouldn't paint your gun. The other thing I would caution you is, you know, at the first, whenever this is like this, it's going to be a little bit sticky. You might get it rubbing off on your hands and stuff like that for a while. But eventually it kind of quits and it's good to go. Just like anything that you freshly painted. So be aware of that. It's easy to touch up. It's easy to do. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have not subscribed to us yet, please go subscribe and check out our other social media platforms at Prepared Patriot NC. Until next time, hope you carry smart, carry safe, and be prepared. Thanks, guys.